The dust is settling. A gazelle lies motionless in the tall grass. The hunt is over. The predator has won. But look closely at the victor. The fastest land animal on Earth is collapsing. Its rib cage heaves violently, expanding and contracting at an unnatural rhythm. Its eyes are wide, dilated, unfocused. Heat waves visibly radiate off its spotted coat, distorting the air above it. It has just achieved the hardest physical feat in nature, and it is entirely defenseless. Shadows begin to shift in the periphery. Scavengers are closing the distance. A pack of spotted hyenas steps into clearing, their heads low, their eyes locked on the exhausted cat. The cheetah does not bare its teeth. It does not roar. It does not stand its ground to protect the calories. It just burned its life force to secure. It simply stands up, turns its back on a fresh meal, and walks away into the brush. Why does the ultimate biological machine surrender its prize without a single fight? We are taught that speed is the ultimate weapon. We view the cheetah as the undisputed ghost of the plains, a flawless masterpiece of evolutionary engineering. But the reality of survival is an unforgiving balance sheet. And right now, the math for this apex predator is rapidly failing. Up to 70% of successful cheetah hunts end exactly like this. Stolen, lost, surrendered to thieves. 7 out of 10 times, the fastest animal alive starves inches away from its own kill. To understand this catastrophic failure rate, we have to stop looking at the teeth and the claws. We have to look at the engine inside the machine. When a cheetah initiates a sprint, it goes from 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds. It covers 22 feet in a single stride, its spine coiling and releasing like a massive industrial spring. It is a breathtaking spectacle of kinetic perfection. But nature never hands out perfection for free. Every extreme adaptation carries a hidden cost. Speed is purchased on credit, and the moment the chase ends, the biological bill comes due. The cheetah collapsing in the grass isn't just catching its breath. It is completely, functionally paralyzed. Its core body temperature has spiked so violently it sits on the absolute edge of lethal limits. The oxygen debt in its muscles is so extreme that fighting back against a scavenger isn't just a risky decision. It is biologically impossible. For 30 agonizing minutes after a successful kill, the most lethal assassin on the savanna becomes the weakest animal on the board. This is the hidden trap of hyperspecialization. When you build a body to do one specific thing perfectly, you strip away the capacity to do anything else. The cheetah traded physical armor for supreme aerodynamics. It traded endurance for explosive acceleration. It sacrificed bone density and jaw strength for a lightweight frame capable of breaking the wind. For over 1 million years, that specific trade-off worked. The vast, open plains of Africa favored the fast. The ecosystem rewarded the sprint. But the physical board of the game is tilting. The rules of the savanna are being rewritten in real time, and intelligent competitors have learned exactly how to exploit the cheetah's greatest vulnerability. Those hyenas approaching the kill are not just wandering past and getting lucky. They are not random scavengers stumbling upon a free meal. They are executing a highly coordinated, systematic strategy. They are weaponizing the cheetah's biology against itself, waiting for the exact second the predator's engine redlines. Look past the blur of motion. Look beneath the spotted coat. When a cheetah accelerates, it isn't just burning calories. It is generating a catastrophic amount of internal friction. The muscles are firing so rapidly, contracting and expanding with such violent force that they create a massive thermal surge, a wave of heat trapped inside a fur-covered body, operating in the baking African sun. What is the actual price of moving 70 miles per hour? It is a race against internal meltdown. If you were to watch a cheetah sprint through a thermal imaging camera, you wouldn't just see an animal running. You would see an engine rapidly overheating, glowing brighter and brighter against the cool background of the plains. In mere seconds, the cheetah's heart rate explodes to 250 beats per minute. Its oversized nasal passages flare, pulling in massive volumes of air, desperately trying to flood the bloodstream with oxygen. But oxygen isn't the primary enemy here. Heat is. As the sprint crosses the 15-second mark, the cheetah's core temperature skyrockets. It quickly approaches 105 degrees Fahrenheit. At this temperature, the physical structures of biological proteins begin to break down. If the core gets any hotter, irreversible damage occurs. The brain will literally begin to cook inside the skull. The cheetah doesn't stop running simply because it secures its prey, and it doesn't stop because it runs out of breath. It stops because an involuntary, neurological kill switch engages. The brain forces the muscular system to shut down to prevent fatal hypothermia. This is the biological loan. The cheetah borrows the extreme energy required to make the kill, but the interest rate on that loan is immediate, non-negotiable physical paralysis. When the gazelle finally goes down, the true crisis begins. For the next 30 minutes, the cheetah cannot defend itself. It lacks the sheer upper body mass to drag a heavy carcass up a tree, like a leopard. It cannot stand its ground and intimidate rivals, like a lion. It is anchored to the dirt, chest heaving, trying desperately to vent the deadly heat radiating from its own internal furnace. 30 minutes. That is the vulnerability window. Half an hour where the master of the plains is functionally helpless. In a vacuum, the system is flawless. If the cheetah were alone on the landscape, 30 minutes of complete exhaustion is a small price to pay for a high-calorie reward. But the savanna is never a vacuum. It is a hyper-competitive, deeply connected economy. Every calorie is watched. Every weakness is calculated. Every vulnerability is eventually exploited. And a 30-minute window of complete paralysis is the greatest vulnerability in nature. Evolution didn't just build the perfect runner. It built the perfect opportunist to shadow that runner. Competitors that realize hunting is a dangerous, energy-draining gamble. Why risk a broken jaw or a shattered rib chasing down a gazelle yourself, when you can let the fastest animal on earth do the heavy lifting for you? You just have to know exactly when to strike. You have to wait for the exact second the cheetah's biological engine hits the red line, when its core temperature peaks, when its legs lock, when it is too exhausted to lift a single paw to defend its hard-earned meal. That is when the shadows and the grass begin to move. But how do these competitors know exactly when and where the cheetah will fall? They aren't simply stumbling across these exhausted cats by accident. They aren't relying on blind luck or random patrols. They are listening. They are tracking. They have turned the theft of the cheetah's survival into a highly calculated, industrialized process. Listen to the open plains. When a cheetah launches into a 70-mile-per-hour sprint, it is loud. The frantic drumming of paws against hard-packed dirt, the snapping of dry brush, the sudden, desperate alarm calls of the herd. It creates a massive acoustic signature, a shockwave of sound rippling across the savanna. And the spotted hyena knows exactly what that sound means. We often misunderstand the hyena. We view them as chaotic scavengers, wandering aimlessly in search of scraps. The truth is far more calculated. Hyenas are highly intelligent, socially complex predators. They possess a keen understanding of energy economics. They are nature's ultimate pragmatists. Why expend the massive caloric energy required to pull down a healthy gazelle when you can listen for the sound of someone else doing it for you? This biological strategy is called kleptoparasitism, the systematic, intentional theft of food. And against a cheetah, the hyenas have perfected it into an industrial process. When a hyena hears the violent rush of a cheetah's sprint, it does not chase the prey. It tracks the predator. It calculates the trajectory. It maps the interception point. It knows that the cheetah's incredible burst of speed comes with a hard physical limit, a biological timer. The hyena simply follows the sound of the hunt, moving at a steady, energy-efficient trot. It is pacing itself, conserving its own strength, while the cheetah rapidly burns through its absolute maximum biological reserves. By the time the hyena arrives at the kill site, the economic transaction is already decided. Look at the cheetah now. It has successfully brought down the prey, but it cannot consume it. Because a cheetah regulates its body heat by panting, it faces a lethal physical contradiction. It must keep its mouth wide open to vent the catastrophic heat building inside its body. But you cannot aggressively tear into a carcass and swallow large amounts of meat while simultaneously panting for your life. It is forced to choose: eat and overheat, or breathe and recover. It must breathe, and in that mandatory window of delayed consumption, the thieves arrive. Watch the approach. The hyena does not charge. It does not need to waste energy on a violent physical fight. It simply walks up to prize. A single spotted hyena can weigh up to 140 pounds. It is a dense wall of muscle and thick bone, equipped with jaws capable of crushing a giraffe femur. The cheetah, hollow bone and built entirely for aerodynamics, cannot risk a single physical blow. A fractured paw is an absolute death sentence. It knows it faces a brutal, uncompromising choice: defend the hard-earned meal and risk a fatal injury, or a lethal spike in core temperature, or surrender the kill entirely and survive to run another day. Biology forces a choice. The cheetah stands up, completely exhausted, and yields. It is an eviction, silent, brutal, highly efficient. This is the shadow economy of the savanna. Up to 70% of a cheetah's successful hunts end in immediate starvation. They have been reduced to the unpaid gig workers of the ecosystem, hunting, killing, and collapsing, only to fund the survival of their most intelligent competitors. But here is the real mystery. This dynamic is not new. Cheetahs and hyenas have shared this exact landscape for millions of years. The cheetah has always been vulnerable after a sprint. The hyena has always been a thief. For countless generations, the cheetah maintained a delicate, functional balance. It lost meals, but the vast, open sightlines of savanna gave it just enough early warning. It could spot scavengers from miles away, allowing it to eat quickly or abandon the hunt before burning critical energy. So why is the theft rate suddenly skyrocketing right now? Why is this ancient balance collapsing today, pushing the cheetah population to the brink of starvation? The predators haven't changed. The game board itself is changing. A massive environmental shift is quietly rewriting the physical architecture of savanna, and it is actively blinding the ultimate hunter. Look at the landscape. We imagine the African savanna as an endless ocean of golden grass, a flat, unbroken horizon stretching in every direction. This was the cheetah's domain, an arena perfectly designed for the ultimate open field runner. But that landscape is disappearing. The physical architecture of the ecosystem is actively changing, and it is being driven by an invisible force far larger than any predator: climate. When we think of climate change, we picture melting ice or rising oceans. But on the savanna, it takes a different form. It manifests as a creeping, woody invader. Shifting global weather patterns are altering regional rainfall. Increased carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is acting as a massive airborne fertilizer. And the beneficiary of this atmospheric shift is the acacia bush. Across vast stretches of cheetah territory, the open grasslands are being choked out. They're being swallowed by dense, thorny thickets. Ecologists call it bush encroachment. It sounds like a mild landscaping issue. For a hyper-specialized sprint hunter, it is a structural collapse. A cheetah's survival depends on two things: unbroken running lanes and supreme visual acuity. A cheetah does not hunt by scent. It hunts by sight. Its eyes are mounted high on its skull, granting a wide, panoramic view of the plains. It needs to see its prey from miles away to calculate the perfect, explosive attack. But more importantly, it needs to see the thieves. Historically, a cheetah resting over a kill could spot a hyena approaching from 2 miles away. That gave the cheetah time. Time to rip into the carcass. Time to consume the vital calories it needed to replace the energy spent on the sprint. Time to eat and then vanish before the hyena ever closed the gap. But the thickening acacia brush has shattered those sight lines. The horizon is gone. The plains are becoming a maze. And a maze is the absolute worst place to be a speed specialist. The cheetah is effectively being blinded by the environment. And the hyenas? They are adapting to the new architecture perfectly. A hyena does not need an open runway. It does not rely on panoramic vision. It relies on acoustic tracking, scent, and relentless endurance. The dense brush doesn't hinder the hyena. It arms it. The acacia thickets provide a flawless, natural camouflage, a creeping blind that allows scavengers to close the distance completely unseen. The cheetah still makes the kill. Its internal engine still overheats. It still collapses into that 30-minute window of absolute paralysis. But now, the early warning system is broken. Instead of spotting the thieves from a safe distance, the cheetah is ambushed. The hyenas emerge from the thick brush just 50 yards away. The warning time has vanished. The cheetah hasn't even taken its first bite before the eviction notice is served. This is why the theft rate is skyrocketing. This is why the ultimate runner is starving. The environment itself is tilting the scales, turning the hyena from a distant nuisance into an immediate, unavoidable threat. The cheetah is caught in a vice. Its biology demands a 30-minute recovery. The new landscape ensures the thieves arrive in 5. When an animal's primary survival strategy becomes a liability, it faces a brutal evolutionary mandate: adapt or die. The cheetah cannot change its basic anatomy. It cannot suddenly grow heavier bones or stronger jaws to fight off a pack of spotted hyenas. So, it does the only thing it can. It changes its behavior. To avoid the thieves, the cheetah attempts to shift the entire schedule of its existence. It begins to hunt when the hyenas are sleeping. But this desperate behavioral adaptation is about to trigger a fatal biological trap. The African sun at high noon is a physical weight. It beats down on the savanna, pushing ambient temperatures well past 100 degrees Fahrenheit. During these brutal hours, the entire ecosystem effectively shuts down. Lions seek the deep shade of thick brush. Leopards drape themselves across high branches, letting the breeze cool their underbellies. And the spotted hyenas retreat to their dens, panting softly in the cool dirt. It is a daily ceasefire, dictated entirely by the sun. But look out through the shimmering heat haze. One predator is awake. One predator is moving. The cheetah, driven to the edge of starvation by the disappearing sight lines and the relentless theft. The cheetah is forced into a radical behavioral shift. If the hyenas own the cool hours of dawn and dusk, the cheetah will take the fire at noon. On paper, it is a brilliant, desperate calculation. Hunting during the most punishing heat of the day guarantees isolation. When the cheetah brings down a gazelle at 1 in the afternoon, the thieves are fast asleep miles away in the shade. The broken early warning system doesn't matter if no one is coming. It seems like the perfect workaround. But remember the rules of the biological loan. Every advantage creates a new cost. And the cost of this temporal shift is absolutely terrifying. Recall the engine inside the machine. A high-speed sprint violently pushes the cheetah's core body temperature toward the lethal limit. Now, apply that exact same mechanical stress test, but change the baseline conditions. When a cheetah hunts in the cool morning air, it has a thermal buffer. The cold air flowing through its lungs helps delay the inevitable overheating. The sprint can safely last 20, perhaps 30 seconds. But at high noon, the ambient air provides zero cooling. The baked dirt radiates heat like an open oven. The cheetah's starting body temperature is already elevated before it even takes its first explosive step. The thermal buffer is gone. When the cheetah launches into a midday sprint, the timeline to internal meltdown is radically accelerated. The biological kill switch engages faster. The absolute maximum distance it can run shrinks dramatically. And the recovery? That brutal 30-minute window of paralysis stretches even longer. Try and vent catastrophic internal heat into air that is already boiling is an agonizing, incredibly dangerous process. This is a fatal trap of adaptation. The cheetah has solved the external threat of the hyena by drastically escalating the internal threat of its own biology. It has secured the meal, but it is risking permanent neurological damage or outright heat stroke just to safely eat it. Watch the midday hunt unfold. The cheetah spots a lone gazelle. It calculates the distance. But the mathematics of the strike have fundamentally changed. It cannot afford a sustained chase. If the prey maneuvers too sharply or runs just 5 seconds too long, the cheetah must abort the mission immediately. Pushing past this new, heavily restricted thermal limit doesn't just mean losing the kill. It means dying of hypothermia in the dirt. The ultimate biological machine is now trapped between two impossible realities: starve in the cool shadows of the acacia, or cook in the blinding light of the open sun. Evolution is not a gentle guide. It is a ruthless accountant. And right now, the cheetah's biological ledger is completely out of balance. It has traded one existential crisis for another. The cure is proving to be as dangerous as the disease. But this profound struggle is about much more than a single predator fighting the heat. It reveals a terrifying truth about perfection. Look at the cheetah resting in the sparse shade. It is not just an animal hiding from the midday sun. It is a prisoner of its own design. To understand what is truly happening to this predator, we have to look beyond the biology. We have to understand the brutal mathematics of evolution. In any competitive ecosystem, survival strategies generally fall into two categories. You can be a generalist, or you can be a specialist. Generalists, like the spotted hyena, are the ultimate pragmatists. They are not the fastest. They are not the most agile, but they are incredibly flexible. They have massive jaws that can crush bone, allowing them to extract calories from a carcass long after the meat is gone. They can hunt in a coordinated pack or scavenge entirely alone. They have options. Specialists do not have options. The cheetah places entire evolutionary bet on one single variable: pure, uncompromising velocity. But extreme specialization requires extreme sacrifice. You cannot be the fastest animal on Earth and retain the tools for anything else. Look closely at the cheetah's anatomy. It has non-retractable claws, acting like permanent track cleats to grip the dirt. Because they are always exposed, they become dull, meaning they cannot be used to slash or defend. Its skull is incredibly small to reduce aerodynamic drag, but a smaller skull means weaker jaw muscles, rendering it incapable of snapping a competitor's bone. Its chest cavity is massive, housing an oversized heart and lungs. That leaves absolutely no room for the dense, heavy muscle mass required for a physical fight. Every ounce of this creature has been stripped down optimized, and dedicated to forward momentum. For millions of years, this massive gamble paid off. The open plains rewarded the specialist. But here's the terrifying trap of perfection. Perfection is not absolute. It is contextual. You are only perfect as long as the environment stays exactly the same. When you optimize a machine for one specific task, you completely remove its margin for error. You destroy its ability to pivot. This is a universal danger of over-specializing, whether it is a biological organism on the savanna or a worker in a rapidly shifting modern economy. Mastering a single skill leaves you entirely at the mercy of changing landscapes. When the environment shifts, when the physical layout of the plains grows thick with blinding acacia brush, the specialist is suddenly obsolete. The cheetah's speed did not fail. It still runs at 70 miles per hour. It still catches a gazelle. The tragedy is that the speed no longer matters. The currency of the ecosystem has changed. The savanna no longer rewards pure velocity. It now rewards endurance. It rewards acoustic tracking. It rewards the sheer physical bulk required to hold your ground in the dense, claustrophobic brush. The hyena is a generalist thriving in a changing market. The cheetah is a master of a world that no longer exists. Its greatest evolutionary strength has slowly, invisibly, mutated into its greatest survival liability. It cannot fight the hyena. It cannot clear the acacia brush. It cannot run in the midday sun without pushing its internal engine to the edge of death. The very adaptations that made it the undisputed ghost of the plains have become the bars of its cage. And as the afternoon heat begins to break, the reality of that cage is about to play out one final time. The heat of the day finally breaks. The long shadows return to the savanna, and with the cooling air, the hyenas wake up. A solitary cheetah stands over a fresh kill in the tall grass. The golden hour light washes over the scene. It looks majestic. It looks like the undisputed ghost of the plains. But the reality is just a brutal biological countdown. The ribcage heaves violently. The internal thermal engine is redlining. The 30-minute window of complete, unavoidable paralysis has just begun. And exactly on schedule, the early warning system fails. From the thick, encroaching wall of acacia brush, the first silhouette appears, then a second, then a third. The acoustic trackers have arrived. This is the exact moment the true cost of dominance is paid. The cheetah looks at the hyena pack. It looks down at the gazelle it just burned its absolute life force to secure. It knows the mathematics. It knows that one physical blow from a heavy jaw will shatter a fragile, hollow bone. And a shattered bone is an agonizing, lingering death. So, it makes the only logical evolutionary choice. It doesn't hiss. It doesn't strike out. It simply turns away. Watch this predator step back from its own survival, walking slowly into the dense brush, panting heavily, surrendering its hard-earned reward to the thieves. It will have to run again tomorrow. It will have to borrow another metabolic loan, and it will likely lose that gamble, too. This was never really about a wildcat losing a meal. This is a story about the terrifying fragility of being the best. We look at apex predators and we see untouchable power. We see the sprint, the muscle, the kinetic perfection. We admire the absolute pinnacle of physical achievement. But nature does not care about physical achievement. It only cares about endurance. It cares about the flexibility to navigate tomorrow's unexpected problems, not just today's predictable challenges. The cheetah's fate represents a profound parallel to our own lives. In our world, we are constantly pushed to hyperspecialize. We are told to become the absolute best at one single, highly specific discipline. We build entire careers, economies, and identities around being the ultimate specialists. But what happens when the underlying industry suddenly changes? What happens when the technological or economic landscape shifts overnight, and the one specific skill you perfected is no longer required? You find yourself perfectly designed for a world that no longer exists. You find yourself running at 70 miles per hour inside a closed cage. Survival in any system is never about being the fastest. It isn't about securing the kill. Survival is entirely about the endurance to claim the reward. It is about retaining enough flexibility to survive the things you aren't perfectly designed to do. The cheetah wagered its entire evolutionary existence on pure, uncompromising velocity. And right now, it is losing that bet to an adapting, shifting environment. But extreme speed is just one biological gamble. What about the animals that looked at this brutal, hyper-competitive world and decided to wager everything on the exact opposite strategy? What happens when a creature sacrifices all its speed, all its agility, and all its mobility to build an impenetrable biological fortress? Next time on Masters of Adaptation, we investigate the hidden, fatal vulnerabilities of ultimate defense. And we discover why carrying unbreakable biological armor might actually be the heaviest death sentence in nature. The documentary investigation is complete. Survival is not a static picture. It is a constantly moving target. The predators we view as invincible are often fighting invisible wars we never even notice. Here at Survival Brand, our mission is to look past the surface, to investigate the hidden economics, the biological trade-offs, and the unseen consequences of existence. If this journey changed the way you view the natural world, consider joining us. Subscribe to the channel. Every documentary we build is designed to challenge your assumptions, to take the myths we have all been taught and break them down into the brutal, fascinating reality of the wild. To our patrons and channel members, you are the engine that keeps this investigation moving forward. Thank you for funding the pursuit of the truth. The board is always changing, and we will be there to document the next move. Until next time,